Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. Welcome to episode 15 of our weekly Top 5 Fridays news videos. Hard to believe this is the 15th one, but numbers don't lie. Pretty cool updates this week. Before we get into that, we're still working on our ski test, putting the final touches on our 2021 ski test. I was just filming some stuff on the Ben Chetler 120 today, so I figured I'd let you guys just stare at it while I talk because it's a pretty beautiful graphic, at least I think so. Really cool artwork on those skis. So yeah, keep an eye out for the ski test. Should be out within a couple weeks at most. Pretty excited about it. We got a lot of cool stuff. There's like a whole bunch of 2021 skis like right there that you all want to see, I'm sure. So that's it. Keep an eye out for ski test. It'll be out very soon. And that's all the internal news I have for today. So let's just jump right into the industry news. First up, we get some Mikaela Shiffrin updates. SkiRacing.com, as always, you guys are great, putting out some really, really good articles throughout the summer, keeping us all informed on ski racing. So check out the full article on SkiRacing.com. I'm just going to skim through some of the stuff in here. Basically, the first half of that article covers a lot of topics that we've talked about before, kind of going through what Mikaela's been through over the past year or so, and kind of some updates on her situation in general. And then we get to start getting some new updates on like kind of some a little bit behind the scenes stuff and some of Mikaela's own opinions on how the season's going to go and some goals. So we get updates on where she's been physically, same spots as before. As we've talked about, the available snow surfaces in the United States start to dwindle around this time of year. So she kind of confirmed that the United States is at a bit of a training disadvantage right now. There's basically more places to train in the summer in Europe, and they have less travel restrictions than we do right now, less restrictions in general. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, I think it's great that the U.S. team has been on snow at all. I think at one point that was a question mark. So it's cool that they're getting some training in, even if they're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Another kind of issue for Mikaela is that neither her ski tech nor her strength and conditioning coach can get into the country. And I laughed that's as a premier athlete, somebody like Mikaela Shiffrin, you need both those things. Those are just things that I personally don't have to think about when I go skiing. Is like, oh no, my strength and conditioning coach isn't here. I probably shouldn't go skiing. But I can totally understand how that would, even if it's just throwing you off your routine, those are kind of two big things. And then she talks about some uncertainties of U.S. travel, whether they'll even be able to go to Europe, that's kind of still up in the air. Chances are the U.S. ski and snowboard team will be able to get some sort of exemption, even if, general United States citizens can't yet travel to Europe. But that'll be kind of interesting to play out. And then she also kind of voiced some, not necessarily concerns, but just kind of curiosity over whether they'll require them to stay all season. If they'll be able to come back periodically to the United States. Last week I believe we talked about the potential for a Europe-only World Cup, or at least only basically limiting speed events to the United States. So essentially, if Mikaela Shiffrin chose to not do any speed events this upcoming season, there's a chance that she might have to stay in Europe the whole time. And then finally, we get some like really cool insights into just Mikaela Shiffrin's attitude right now. I think it's always fascinating to get a glimpse into her mindset. I think that's one of the things that sets her apart as an athlete is she's pretty darn grounded considering her level of success, and usually just seems to have a really good head on her shoulders and just a really healthy way of thinking about things. So what I really liked most out of this article is that for Mikaela, her goal for the season is mostly just to be able to ski, like the physical ability to ski and to enjoy it. She's focusing on those two things much, much more so than like adding to her win total, continuing her win streak, stuff like that. So I think that's really healthy, and I think that's just a great thing to hear. So some cool updates from Mikaela Shiffrin. There's a lot more in that article, so if you're curious about that stuff, head on over to skiracing.com. Next up, we have a report. New York Magazine put this out, nymag.com, if you want to check out their website. Basically, we have some thoughts from the Harvard Global Health Institute on what a 2020-21 season may look like. We also get some updates from Vail and Altera kind of on past sales and their general thoughts. Like Vail has extended the first price break deadline to Labor Day, which is normally much, much earlier than that. And then we get some really good quotes from, I'm going to butcher this, Dr. Ashish Jha is what I'm going with, but I could be wrong, so I apologize. I'm going to mess up another name later, too. I know I am. But he's basically a professor at the Harvard School of Public Health, and he had some really good quotes that I'm basically just going to read to you. So first thing that he said was, the lowest risk is coming down the mountain. And then he was asked about chairlifts, and his response was, it's probably fine. If you want to put family members together or have people go up by themselves, that's probably marginally safer, but I don't think it's a huge deal, referring to chairlifts in general. Now, when asked about gondolas, he kind of went on a different path and said, well, you might need to make some alterations to the gondolas themselves, maybe make them a little bit more like chairlifts in the sense that you increase airflow and probably also require people to wear masks. And now lodges, restaurants, and cafeterias he then described as incredibly high risk. And I think that's, me personally, someone who's been speculating about what the upcoming season could look like, that's clearly the problem area, is lodges, restaurants, cafeterias, all those kind of flux points where there's multiple touch points and just people that are going to be close to each other. And he also brings up a good point that when you're in the lodge on a ski slope or at a ski resort, chances are you're in there to eat or have some hot chocolate or get some water or something. So a lot of people removing their face masks in those situations. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, as we've been talking about all spring and all summer. We're all hoping for the best, and even he was saying, hopefully by the time we get to that point, we'll be in a slightly different situation, whether it's in the form of cheaper testing, better access to tests. He even threw out the idea of ski resorts actually doing their own daily testing, which could be really interesting. And then he also brought up the idea of potentially having a vaccine by then, which, that's something that we're watching on a more global scale rather than just in the lens of skiing and the ski industry. So yeah, plenty more to watch and speculate about, but I found it really valuable to be able to read some thoughts and some quotes from somebody who knows a lot more about pandemics and safety than I particularly do. I know a fair amount about skis and skiing and some other stuff, but certainly not a global public health expert. Now, third, this is actually something that we covered like 2 years ago, way back in July of 2018. This is that name that I am going to butcher. Andrej, I'm just going to go with Andrej. It's Andrzej Bargiel. He's a Polish skier that did the first ever descent of K2, the mountain K2, the crazy high mountain K2. So if you're unfamiliar with that, it happened and it's crazy. So first of all, you should familiarize yourself, and I should probably familiarize myself with how his name is pronounced, but I actually couldn't find like a pronunciation guide, or at least one that I understood. And I even watched some of the videos, and I didn't necessarily find how to pronounce his name correctly, so my apologies if I happened to skip like the 15 seconds of a video where it said how I was supposed to pronounce your name. But yeah, pretty amazing stuff, and some really, really cool media from Red Bull. Red Bull media department is always putting out some of the best content in skiing and other sports, other action sports, and lots of stuff actually these days. So we got a bunch of stuff. We got an interactive website where you can kind of click through and takes you through all the different stages of his mission, his excursion, so to speak. And we also get a 12-minute edit and a full hour-long documentary. Now, the 12-minute edit like made my hands sweat a little bit. Those first few turns that he takes, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. You know, just to give you a little teaser and a little glimpse of what it's like, you know, it's an upper high alpine environment. It's super dangerous, you know, being up there. You know, I think anything above 8,000 meters on K2 is considered the death zone. And he's up there skiing down. You know, he's got like, I can't remember exactly, but not quite 1,000 vertical meters, but he's got quite a ways to ski down before he's below that death zone. And you can tell how hard he's working. And literally, like, all he's doing is side slipping for quite a bit. And he even says over the radio, like, I'm starting, but I'm going slowly. And then he passes by lots of people on the rope line coming up. And at one point, he stops to talk to a guy. And you can just tell, like, they're both psyched. The guy's giving him fist pumps and stuff. And you can tell they're both psyched about the situation. I don't think they're in the same party at all. And he's asking the guy, like, how many people are coming up, and he's yelling back because there's wind, like, 19, 19. So it's pretty intense environment, and it really, like, kind of gave me chills, and definitely something that I would encourage you to watch and check out. Just unbelievable. And then fourth topic for today, you may have seen some marketing on this. It started popping up for me on my social media feeds and stuff like that. So if the digital world targets you like they're targeting me, then chances are you've probably seen it. But Swix has announced a new line of eco-friendly wax. So it's actually been in development since 2013 at a total research cost of $2.2 million. Powder Magazine did a really good job covering this, and Ermi Catino was the writer, good friend of mine. Ermi, hope you're doing well. I don't know if you'll see this video, but if you do, your writing's great, and I enjoy it, and keep up the great work. So yeah, this has been in development since 2013, and basically it's in response to the fact that fluorinated wax is just really bad for the environment. It's something that we as skiers have known about for a while, and it's kind of like, it's one of those topics, kind of like heli skiing. Like, we as skiers are environmentally conscious people that, you know, want to fight climate change and all that stuff, but then we burn a lot of fossil fuels using helicopters and chairlifts and pollute the environment with fluorinated wax. So as many of those things as we can kind of combat or at least make a little bit better, I think that's great. So kind of what pushed this over the edge and what made it available to the public now, or what kind of pushed Swix to put the finishing touches on it a little faster, is that FIS has banned fluorinated waxes for the 2020-2021 season. Really cool. I think I'm glad that they did. And there's some quotes here from Swix that I'll read to you, kind of about the wax itself. So I'm sure you're wondering what it's made out of. I was too. And it's a combination of ingredients calibrated precisely to perform in specific temperature, humidity, and snow granulation. Great, that's basically a general description of wax in general. And more specifically, it is wax-based, but also contains raw materials based on metal colloids, hydrocarbons with a low coefficient of friction, and proprietary non-fluorinated hybrid ingredients. So not too many details on what's in there, which isn't surprising because I'm sure they're trying to kind of keep it close to the chest, because $2.2 million in research costs is certainly not nothing. But it's been approved by the US EPA and a couple, I can't remember the name of the other organization, but it's approved by basically every environmental organization that it needed to be approved by. It was confirmed that it's fluorinated wax, or fluorinated, it's free of fluorinated materials, or fluoro materials. And basically, if you're familiar with the Swix wax line, they had CH, LF, and HF, and then you also get like pure Sara F, pure just fluorocarbon. And replacing CH, LF, and HF, they're calling it Pro Performance Speed Pro High Speed and Pro Top Speed. So I assume that there are similar price breaks. You know, HF is pretty expensive stuff. CH in the past has been pretty affordable. I imagine that the same is true. So that's really cool, and we are fans of that here at Ski Essentials as well. If you don't know, we've done a lot with DPS Phantom treatment over the past couple of years, and that's a similar story. It's much more environmentally friendly than these old now, these outdated. They're now outdated fluorinated waxes, which I can't, you know, I'm pretty psyched about this. I was a Nordic ski racer when I was in high school as the captain of a pretty darn big high school Nordic team. We had like 50 people on our team, which is insane. I used to have to wear a respirator and put Sarah F on a ton of people's skis, and just in addition to the fact that it's not great for the environment, I never really felt great about doing that personally, and my personal health of being around stuff like that all the time. So yeah, I guess now I certainly don't have to, so yay. And then finally we have our edits of the week. So first up is that video of the K2 descent, so check that out. Second one is an edit of a couple guys out in the Alaskan backcountry ripping around on snowmobiles and skiing some really cool stuff, and there's really good cinematography in that edit too. So definitely check that one out. I think just visually it's really impressive. Third is a quick like 40-second edit, a telemark skier in copper doing some of the craziest like nose butters I've ever seen. And I don't pretend to be an expert on telemark skiing. So if we have a telemark skier that's watching this, can you tell me what bindings he's using? Because they look a little stronger than most telemark bindings. Bob St. Pierre, my talented coworker, he's kind of our resident telemark expert, so maybe I'll reach out to him too. Bob's still primarily working from home due to COVID-19 concerns, but yeah, hopefully maybe he can answer that question for me so you don't have to. And then finally, this edit's a few years old too, but if you've never seen it, it's really cool. I remember watching it when it first came out, and this was fun to kind of relive the excitement of it. It's Chuck Patterson skiing a huge wave. Yeah, skiing a huge wave at Jaws. So check that out if you've never seen it. It's really cool. And you know, the more I watch it, the more I'm thinking, like, I kind of want to do that. I feel like I could. I've water skied before, and yeah, let's do it. Who wants to tow me into a big wave on some skis? I'm down to try. So that's it. That's episode 15 of Top 5 Fridays. Thanks for joining me as always. Keep an eye out for the 2021 ski test. And yeah, hopefully everybody's enjoying summer and getting outside and doing some fun stuff, and hopefully the weather's great wherever you are. So thanks again for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon.